Chumash and Rashi, Parshas Chukas. We are in the 6th reading. Let us continue our story. The travels of the Jewish people. Trials and tribulations. We had the passing of Aaron, the Amalekis who started up with the Jewish people, who appeared as Canaanites, the sin of the Jewish people, the serpents, and so on. Okay. We are in chapter 21, verse 10. Yisu b'nei Israel, and they traveled. The b'nei Israel, the Israelites, v'yachna ba'oivos, and they camped in Oivos. Oivoi. I don't know if that's where it comes from. Here's Oivos. Here it is.
The eastern side of the Jordan?
It's on the eastern side. It's further down than the Jordan River. It's further south. It's really like across it. It's further south than Egypt. Or yeah. Or I don't know, maybe this it's the Sinai Desert, I guess, further south. More by the Sea of Reeds. Here's the Sea of Reeds. That's closer to that. And they traveled from Oibos, and then they camped by the it translates here the ruins of the passes. Okay. Let's see it there. The Midbar in the desert. Hashapnei Moab, which is the Mizrach on the east side of Moab, the Moabites. Mizrach Hashamish from the east side. Oh, here it is. Up here. This picture here. Here's Oibos, and they went from Oibos to here. It's still below the Dead Sea, much below the Jordan River. So, closer to the Sea of Reeds. Right? Got it? Okay, Rashi in 11. The ruins of the passes. I don't know why it's referred to as Eim. Eim means a ruin. Lashon Churbani. The word means a ruin. Davar ha-ta'ut, the matate, something that's swept away, but with a broom. Ayin, but you say levada, and the ayin is the only letter of the root in it. Interesting. I never heard such a thing. What? Of the root in it. I never heard of such a thing. There's only one letter that's a root of a word. I thought it was always two letters minimum. Shoveled, yaid, borod. The hail swept. Okay. Havarim, the passes, the ruins of the passes. Derech Ma'avir Ha'ivim Sham is Har Navoi, the way, the passage of those who pass Mount Nebo. El Eretz Canaan, to the land of Canaan. Shumavsik, that it is interposes vein Eretz Moab, between the land of Moab, Eretz Haimori, and the land of the Amorites. So between Moab and the Amorites. So here's the Ammon, and here's Moab. So it's in between them, between those two nations. Okay. Here's Egypt. So this is the Sinai. This is where they were by Kadesh. They wanted to go through Edom. Remember last week's parsha? Andrew, if you can let in Liba. They went around here. Here's where Moshe died. I mean, Aaron died in the parsha, Mount Hor. And this is now where they are over here, the river that passes on the other side of Edom. And they came all the way up here from there, up here. That's between Moab and now and Ammon. Okay. Interesting. Moab, Mizrach, Shamish. So on the facing Moab at the east, literally means the shining of the sun. Mizrach Shamish. Hashem. The Mizrach Shaler, it's Moab, meaning to the east of the land of Moab. Okay, verse 12. Misham Nasu, from there they further traveled, B'yachanu b'nachal Zared. And they came to Nachal Zared. Where is that here? Hmm. One second. I'm confused by this picture. Okay, doesn't show it here. And from there they further traveled and journeyed, and they camped on the side of the Arnon River. Arnon River is over here by the Dead Sea. That's by the Dead Sea already. That's already further north. Okay. That is in the desert that extends from the Amorite border. Right, because the Amorite border is above that, of this river. Vul Moab, between Moab and the Amori, right? So here's Moab, right? It's going to be next week's parsha because Moab is going to speak about the king of Moab, Balak, the king of Moab, right? And the whole story with Bilam. So here's the Arnon River that's separating the Amorites over here. Okay. Rashi in 13. Migbulai Amayri, from the boundaries of the Amorites. Tchum Seif Meitzah Shalahem, the limit of the end of the boundary, the farthest point of the as the boundary extends. Right? V'chein, similarly, the Gvul Moav, it's a border of Moav. Ashiketzev Seif, it denotes an extremity, an end. Be'ever Arnain, on the other side of Arnain, Hikifu Eretz Moav. They went around the land of Moab, called Rema Mizracha, from the southern, right, and the eastern side. Shabo Me'ever Ashen, until they came to the other side, the end opposite of where they began, on the northern end of the land of Moab, Ma'arnain to Arnain, which is in the land of the Amorites. It's finished on Eretz Moab, at the northern part of Moab, right? As we showed in the picture, right, over here. That goes out from the border of the Amorites. It's a strip that goes out from the border of the Amorites. And it belongs to the Amorites. I guess it's the river, right? And it enters in territory of Moab, Ad Arnain, until Arnain. Okay. Which is the border of Moab, Israel, that's where the Israelites encamped. And they didn't enter into the territory of Moab, because Arnon is the border. And the Moabites didn't give them permission to pass through their land. That's why they encamped on the other side of the border. Although Moshe did not state this explicitly, that Moab refused them to travel through the land, because we don't see this mentioned in the verse. Yiftach does state it explicitly. Amar Yiftach, like Yiftach said, V'gam al Melech Moab Shalach, that he sent to the king of Moab also, in the book of Judges, and he did not agree. But Moshe alludes to it in the verse. As the children of Esav who dwell in Seir did for me, so when the Moabites who dwell in Ar, and others, he's comparing Esav to the Moabites, implying Ma'ilu, just like the children of Esav, Nasul, Lavar, they didn't give him to pass, as we learned previously, in their land. He keep from something that rather he went around them. Af Moav came Moav likewise the same. Why Rashi brings this over here when it's not in our verse at all? Wow, it's in Deuteronomy. It's in the book of Dvarim. Why would he bring Rashi this explanation over here when it's doesn't seem to fit into the the text over here? Okay, I don't know. 14. Yeah, we're continuing. We're good. Okay. Therefore, Yamar, it will be said, or it is said rather, Sefer Milchamas Hashem, in the book that recounts the wars of God. As Vahe Besufa, and he gave Besufa, the reeds, meaning the sea of reeds, the Sanecholim Arnain, and the valleys of Arnain. And he gave. What is it? What's going on over here? What's Rashi saying? Let's see Rashi. Alkain. So therefore, about this, Al Chaniyazu, on this encampment, right? That's what it means, right? About this account, this thing that we're talking about over here. Nisim Nasuba. There were miracles that were done here. Because it will be said in the story of the wars of a god, when they tell over the miracles that were done to our forebearers, Yisapru, they will tell is Vahev V'Gomer. They will tell Vahev, the giving over or the gift, right? They'll tell about this gift. Wow, what's the gift over here? Vahev, what was given over here? Kamoi V'Yahev, like the word V'Yahev, which means a gift. He's just giving an example of it. Above Yisaidu, the vav is part of the root of the word here. Kalaymar is to say the word means giving. That he bestowed upon them. Hereby, what did he bestow upon them? Harbe nisim, many miracles, b'yamsuf, by the sea of reeds. What's going on here? The Sea of Reeds is further down. They're not there now. They're all the way up here by the Arnon River, next to the Dead Sea. They're across from the Dead Sea, right? The Sea of Reeds is over here. So let's see, Rashi. This Anecholim Arnen, the valleys of Arnon. Kishem Shemisaper Benisin Yamsu. Aha. Okay. And the Rashi now explains what he means. Just as we tell over the miracles of the sea, right? The splitting of the sea, kach yesh l'saper, so we also have to tell over the miracles that happen by the valley of Arnon. Sha'afkan, that here too, nasa nisim gedelim, great miracles are done. Umay hemanisim. And what are these miracles? Right? Well, we have to learn the next verse. The Eshed Hanecholim Asher Nata Lesheves Ar Benisham Legvul Moya. So Eshed Necholim means the spillage of the valleys. Asher Nata, that was moved Lesheves, to the dwelling of Ar, Benishan, and leaning towards the borders of Moav. Whoa, that's very cryptic. Rashi is going to explain what is the cryptic meaning over here. What's the spillage over here in the valleys? Targum Sheshevet, the Aramaic translation of Shevet means outpouring and spillage, and Shevet means Shefach Necholim, the outpouring of the valleys, Shenishpach Sham Dama Mayrim. The blood of the Amorites spilled there. What happened? Shayu Nechboyim Sham, they were hiding. Because there were mountains there that were very high, and the valley was deep and narrow. And there were mountains that were near one another. A person could stand on one mountain on one side, and he could speak with his friend, and he could speak to a friend on the mountain on the other side. That's how close the mountains were, right? And the road, right? And this is where the Jews passed through the valley, right? So the Amorites said, Israel, when the Israelites are going to enter the Seichanachal to pass through this valley, will come out of the caves, will come out of the caves that are on the mountains above them. Right, there were caves inside the mountain, and the Amorites were hiding there. When the Israelites will pass through the valley in the bottom, they'll come, the Nargim, and will kill them. The Chitzim with arrows, the Avnei Belistoris, and with they'll catapult stones. And those hollows that were in the caves of the Amorites where they hid were in the mountain of the Moabite side. Right? But on the side of the Amorites, were opposite those hollows. Kamin karnaim shadaim, like horns of breasts, projecting, bolting lachutz, right, protruding outward. Kivin shabo Yisrael laver. So let me explain. it was almost like it was one mountain, and there must have been some kind of catalysm that happened, and it split into two, right? Producing. One second. Enter here. Let in everybody. Right. So what it did, it produced a cave on one side, a hole on one side, and that hole was a protrusion on the other side, right? Because they were so close, these mountains. So there must have been like one mountain at one time, right? And this is so they hid not on their side of the mountain, right? Because Arnon River is in the below the valleyway. They hid on the Moabite side, the Amorites, and ready to, to kill the Jews. Just another story. So what happened? They're protruding outwards. So when the Jewish people came to pass by in the valley, Shel Eretz Israel, the mountain in the land of Israel, the land where the Amorites were part of the land of Israel, trembled. Kishivcha, like a slave woman, the Kabbalah is she goes out to greet her mistress with great fear. Right? When it came close, and it was like an earthquake happened, right? Let's add Shomayav to the side of the Moabites. And the breast-like projections entered into the hollows, were caves on the other side, on the Amorite side. The Hargum, and it killed the Amorites. They were crushed, exactly. And that's what it means. In the verse, it says, Asher nata l'sheves ar, right, that they, later on in verse 28, right, it says that when they veered to dwell in Ar, Shahar Natam Imkema, that the mountain veered from its location, and Niskariv Letzad Moab, and it came close to the side of Moab, and joined itself. And this is the meaning of Manish on the Moab. In our verse, it says it leaned against the border of Moab. So the Israelites, they passed across the mountain tops, and they were not even aware of the miracles. But only through the well that entered over there. Which is, this is verse in verse 18, we'll see that. Okay, continuing verse 16. Omisham be'era he, and from there into the well, Asher Amar Hashem, which the well that God said, L'Moshe to Moshe, Asif Sa'am et Nalahem, my gather the people and I give them water. What does that mean? 16, Misham be'era, from there the well. Misham ba Esha Shalaber, there came the outpouring, came to the well. Okay, it said how? What happened? God said, who's going to let my children know about these miracles? An earthquake happened, right? And the mountain, the two mountains kissed, and therefore destroyed the Amorites. The Jews don't even know what's going on. They didn't see this. I mean, they saw that happening, but they were inside there. Proverb says, that if you give bread to the child, let the mother know. So after the Israelites passed across the mountain, from mountain to mountain, the mountains went back to their places. So it was a temporary, kiss of the mountains. And the well went down into the valley, and brought up from there dam ha'arugim, the blood of those who were killed, in the arms and limbs, and took them around the camp. So the Jewish people, they saw this and they gave praise for the miracle. Others say they didn't see it happen, but they saw the after effect that they were killed, that it was blood, there were limbs because they were cut by the limbs with the projection of the mountain going in. So once they saw that a miracle had happened, and therefore they praised God. That's this next verse. Az Yashir. Then they sang. Israel, the Yidden. It's a Shir Hazois, this song. Ale Be'er Anullah. Ascend well, recite this, and respond to this. This poem, it says here. Okay. Ale Be'er, come up well, from inside the valley, Ali, and bring up Masha'at Malid, that which you bring up. In other words, the miracles that are in the well. And from where do we know that the well informed them about the miracles? Because it's in the preceding verse, and from there to the well. Now it was from there. So we're talking about the well that went with the Jewish people, right? So what does it mean that the well went with them now when it was there for 40 years? This means that the well went down into the valley of the fire and needs him to publicize a miracle. The well went them to give them water, but here the well did something different. It brought about, it publicized the miracle that God did. Similarly, we find that publicizing the miracles derived from the phrase Oz Yashir Israel. Then the Israelites saying, Ashir Azois Nemra, this song was said B'Seifar Boim at the end of 40 years. And the well was given to him at Chilsar Boim. It was given at the beginning of the 40 years. Marali Kosef Khan. So why does the Torah write it over here? Right, but it's explained for this reason that we just explained the above this, right? That it was for the miracle that it brought out, not because we had now a well with us, right? Now, remember this whole explanation Rashi is giving is very much cryptic, right? In the words. So Rashi is saying that the fact that they sang to God for this well, ascend well, and we're reciting a praise of God because of it. Well, if it's because of it, you should have done that 40 years ago, because 40 years ago you already had the well with you. Why are you doing it now? It's not because you have a well for water. It's because now the well brought out to you the miracle of God, that he protected you and took care of you unbeknownst to you when there was that earthquake that now moved the mountain and killed the Amorites that were above you. That's what it means. That's what Rashi wants to show. Yeah, is that clear? Okay. Verse 18. Be'er chafru asarim. It's a well that was dug by princesses, plural. Karu nediviam, carved out by the nobles of the people. B'chaykek b'ma shan naisam. By the machaykek means the lawgiver, through the lawgiver, with their staves. Mashan noisam means what they lean on there for their staves. But midbar matana, and from the desert it was a gift. Okay, let's see. Rashi, also cryptic. This whole thing's very cryptic. Ber Chafrua, a well that ministers dug. Zoisi Aber, this is the well. Asher Chavrua Sorim, the minister dug. Moshe Aaron. Who is that? Moshe and Aaron. They dug it. Those are the ministers. Okay. The Masha and Noisam with their walking sticks, their staffs, the Mata staff. But Midbar from the desert, Nitna Lahem, it was presented to them. You know, the gift, in other words, the gift that was presented to them, the well. Amimatana Nachliel, and after being a gift that is from the valleys, Aminachliel Bamois, and from the valleys unto the heights. Rashi Matana of Nachliel, Kitarguma, his uncle translates it, and when it was given to them, it would go down to them from the valleys, and from the valleys it would go up with them to the heights. Okay. Verse 20, the last verse for today. Hagai, and from the heights it will descend. Asher B'Snei Moav, Reisha Pisgah, to the valley of field of Moav, and Nishkava al Pnei Yashimayim, and to the top peak that can be seen over the wastelands. Okay. Need Rashi for this. 20. Reisha Pisgah from the top peak should be on the Sukkah Targuma according to Onkelos. Reisha Ramasa, the top of the height. Pisgah, Lashon Goiva. Oh, yeah. Pisgah is denotes height. Chaim Pasgah Armanaseha. Pasgah Seha, Galileo Armanaseha. Raise up the palaces. Benishkafa, and it is seen, that is Isa Pisgah. Yeah. Okay. The Nishkafa, and it is seen. Isa Pisgah, that peak is seen Apnei Amakim, over the surface of the place. Shishma Yishimain, its name is Yishimain, Shehulash and Midbar, which Yishimain means, it comes from the term of a wilderness, Shushamayim, because a wilderness is desolate. That's one explanation. Alternative explanation, Nishkafa Haber al Pnei Yishimain, that the well is seen on the surface of Yishimain. For it was hidden. Shenignaza, for it was hidden in Yamashel Tiberia, in the Sea of Tiberias. Aymed al Yishimain, and that it stands over Yishimain. Mabid Vereya, it can look out and see. Kamin Kavara, like a sieve-like shape. Bayam, the Aber, and that's the well. Okay. Let's see if we have some Rebbe's teachings over here. Okay, so on verse 14 through 17, right? So he said concerning these, whoever people will recount the wars of God, that he gave the sea of the reeds in the valley of the Arnon River. And we said, right, the spillage, the miracle that happened, and then the Jewish people sang um, um, towards God, thanking for the miracle. So Rashi says that in verse 14, right? It says, Al Cain, therefore, or concerning they said that the people will recount the wars of God, right? So we will recount the miracles that God did, like the miracle of the splitting of the sea, and here of the miracle of the valley of Arnon, right? Also here are great miracles. So God did a lot of miracles for the Jewish people, right? For coming out of Egypt. But there's only two of them that the Jewish people said Shira, they sang to God. Splitting of the sea, right? The sea reeds, and now, right? So we need to understand, and many commentaries do ask this question. What's so special about these two miracles that specifically they were the ones that the Jewish people sang to God for the miracles that happened? Right? Other miracles, God also saved them. On the other hand, we also have to understand what's the difference between these two songs. The one that was said on the sea, right? Az Yashir Moshe B'nai Israel. But here it says Az Yashir Israel. Here it says not Moshe and Israel. Here it only says Israel. All right? So the explanation is as follows. You follow the questions? By the way, today's learning, I forgot to mention, is in honor of the third yard site of our dear Yaakov Yehuda's mother, Yittel Bas. Vittel is the mother. What's her father's name? Yaakov Yehuda. Oh, okay. So yeah, Nisham Shavan Aliyah, having a great Aliyah now with the learning that we're doing. So the question's clear?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, we can see a similarity between them is, if you recall, by the Yam Suf earlier, that it says that God will fight for you and you be quiet, right? Which is different than the other miracles that happened. The Jewish people went to war. They themselves went to war, but God made a miracle, like when we've battled Amalek or Sichain, right? All of those battles, and all of them, the Jewish people went to war, and there were miracles. Here was unique. God went to war. Period. Right? Without the Jewish people involved. So that's what makes them unique. Got it? The two of them. right? Here, the mountains, right? They did nothing. They didn't even know about it. God had to show them, right? Yet there's a distinction between the two of them. In Kriyas Yam Suf, the splitting of the sea. I remember learning the Sikha. I think last year or the year before, coming to mind. The Jewish people themselves didn't have to pick up a finger. That's what it says. V'atem tachrishum. God says, and just be silent. But there was some involvement. Whose involvement was involved by this splitting of the sea? Moshe, because he prayed. He prayed. And even though there was a need that there would be some kind of action taken, a specific action should take in order to facilitate the miracle, right? Pick up your staff, right? Over the waters, and then the waters will split, right? That's what Moshe did. So there was an involvement of Moshe there, right? Here, though, Moshe Rabbeinu himself also was not necessitated to do a single thing, completely on its own. So much so that the Jewish people don't even know about it when it happened. In other words, they weren't even in danger. Because danger really is like when you're aware of it. They weren't even aware of such a thing. And therefore, not even of the salvation and the saving from such a danger. So from here, we see the distinction of the two songs that they sang. By the Sea of Reeds, it says Moshe that he sang, and Bnei Israel separately, right? Because Moshe took a part in, even though he didn't take a part in the battle, but he took in the prayer and raising his staff. So, right? So there was some of his involvement. But over here, there was nothing to mention Moshe separately from the children, from the Israelites, because there was no distinction between them. Wow. Amazing. Fascinating. What time is it?
30.
Oh, okay.
9:32.
All right, folks. Thank you. See you in a few moments.
Thank you, Rabbi.